Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is September 15th, 2023, and we're doing robots, AI, and nonsense stories for you to enjoy on your Friday.
And if we're going to talk about AI, we're going to talk about OpenAI. And the news is still not great for them, although maybe it's starting to get a little better.
ChatGPT traffic slips again for the third month in a row. And this is because they've nerfed it to the point that it's no longer as useful as it was 3 months ago.
Now, last month was a 10% drop, which is pretty serious, but this last month only 3%.
It's still wildly useful.
I'm getting tired of it. It's just, it's wrong too often.
Yeah.
And if you hate going to online meetings, which is weird because now every company is demanding that we no longer do online meetings, but instead you have to go back to the office, and that's the war zone now. And maybe this is part of that because Google is giving you a tool to avoid it.
Duet's main job is to help you catch up and remember what happened in your meet calls, but can also maybe save you the trouble of attending in the first place. Yes, there's lots of meetings where it's just, this should not have been a meeting.
So this AI will remind you of things that you wanted to talk about during the meeting. It will take notes for you, and it will pretend to be you in some situations when you can't actually go to the meeting. Oh.
I do find note taking, I don't know, I like to take my own notes. I do 2 drafts of notes on calls where, like, on the call, I'm just writing whatever they say, and then I organize them after so that they're put together and not just scribble like a goblin.
It's so hard, though, because you also have to be sitting there thinking about, okay, how is what you're proposing to me going to break?
Yeah.
I need to try to point that out to you now before we build it.
Right.
And that's too many threads. Maybe a younger man can do it. Remember back when we used to talk about how every AI company was just hammering the headlines with it, you're not going to lose jobs. AI is not going to take your jobs. Remember those?
AI took my job literally. Gizmodo fires its Spanish staff amid switch to an AI translator. Oh, this AI translator is good enough. See ya.
I wonder, sayonara, I wonder if they got any actual Spanish speakers to read the AI generated articles.
Doesn't
Or if they
matter.
were just like, well, whatever, we can say that we're trying.
Yeah.
Well, these guys didn't just translate. They also did news stories that they felt were Spanish specific.
Right.
Like
Something that would be useful to someone who spoke Spanish.
And the English did not necessarily have an English version of it. We're like, no, we're going to do stuff for this crowd that is unique to them. No more of that. Just translations now. And another place where all the writers were fired and they're replaced with AI. But here, someone did check the work.
Gannett to pause AI experiment after botched high school sports articles. So apparently they had hired somebody to do articles on high school sports. And then they said, wait, we can just have an AI do it. And the AI did not do a good job.
So we got some brilliant instances like this.
Just variables.
Where the variables were left in.
Worthington Christian winning team mascot defeated the Westerville North losing team mascot in a 2-1. Wow.
They said that they would mention the place and date of the sporting event in every sentence in some cases.
That seems to be a thing. Like, as soon as I notice that when I'm reading something on the internet, I'm like, this is AI generated.
And almost when you read these excerpts, it sounds like the old joke about it's like, you know, the person who's pretending to be interested in sports, you know?
Yeah. It does read like that.
Amazing. So they're not going to do that anymore for now. You think they have to go back to those people and shamedly hire them again?
Ooh.
They'll probably just like do contracting, right?
Yeah.
But that's going to be, well, if they were smart, if the people who got fired were smart, they would like triple their rate. But
I think that they did the Coke strategy here, which is when they're going to switch away from sugar to corn syrup. That they did, they put urine in the formula, and it's like, all right, we'll take the urine out. And then everybody's like, oh, it's great. Whereas if they just switched directly from sugar to corn syrup, people would have rebelled. But because they switched to urine and corn syrup, they could take the urine out and then be like, oh, yeah, it's just corn syrup now. And people are like, that's great.
Well, we talked in the one of the previous episodes about the intelligence agencies wanting to do clothing that tracks every move that we make. And we weren't sure how they were going to use that. Maybe they would trick us into wearing it. But Microsoft says, you know what? I think I'll sell it to you.
Microsoft's AI-powered backpack approved for public feedback. So basically, the camera and the network and all the stuff lives in the backpack. It's like you're carrying around a robot that's just commenting on stuff as you go.
And feeding everything that you experience back to the cloud. How great is that?
Imagining a scenario where like you're getting beat up on the playground and you have like a memory. It just saves that.
Does that Facebook thing where it reminds you a
Yeah,
year later
every
that your
10
dog
years.
is dead?
Yeah.
So why would you want this? Well, some of the scenarios they point out is like maybe you see a poster of a movie that you want to see that's coming out soon, and you're just like, hey, backpack, mark in my calendar that I want to see this movie. Or you're looking for something and you can't find it, so the backpack is also looking for it. It sounds heavy and expensive and unnecessary.
Yeah.
The AI art war continues to rage as some people just won't stop making AI art and they expect to be paid or recognized for it, but the industry says, no, it must not exist.
The headline, which is somewhat clickbait, is Ghostwriter's Heart on My Sleeve, the AI-generated song mimicking Drake and the Weeknd submitted for Grammys. So this is someone who wrote a song, not with AI.
They wrote the lyrics. And
They wrote the lyrics, and they needed a performance, so they used AI to make the performance, but they submitted it to the Grammy not for the performance, for the lyrics.
And you can submit yourself for a Grammy, which I was like, that's news to me, because does that mean I can just submit for one?
You should.
Can you put that in your resume? Like, was considered for a Grammy?
Grammy contention.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so is the powers that be, the industry, where they nuked this from every service. No, you can't be on YouTube, can't download it. They did everything they could to keep the world from seeing this, but that has not deterred the creator.
Ghostwriter returns with an AI Travis Scott song and industry allies. So again, they're trying to thread the needle here. They're just doing one part of the work when usually it's a collection, and then using AI to say this is how it would be if these people actually performed it, which is a really interesting take on it.
That's a pretty normal thing in the music industry from what I gather. So like you'll have a certain artist who will write a song and then they'll envision it for a certain artist. So like I know Grimes did a song that she wanted Rihanna to perform, but obviously Rihanna is not going to give you the time of day. So she did a version of it for herself and then released it. So it's kind of like the same thing, except this time you're actually mimicking the person's voice.
Yeah, the person doesn't have to say yes or
Yeah.
be involved at all. And when they say industry allies, some people in the music business were like, wait a minute, this is getting a lot of buzz. Maybe there's money to be made here. So is that going to be an avenue to where we can actually have this?
Also, was Travis Scott the one where like a bunch of people died at one of his concerts?
And I looked him up
Ugh.
because, I can enjoy some rap sometimes.
Yeah.
Usually not the modern stuff, but I was like, if people are dying for this, I should check it out. Terrible.
Not
It's
good.
absolute garbage. I can't believe what the youth is into. And we have some story about Meta. Of course, Meta is desperately trying to churn out new language models. And maybe a good way to do that inside your company is to have two competing groups and see who can do the best thing. But that will also lead to drama.
Inside Meta's AI drama, internal feuds over compute power. There's only so many GPUs to go around, fellas, and you're both pretty. This is the Apple Lisa versus the Apple Macintosh fight all over again.
We've seen this throughout big tech's history.
Yeah.
So always some internal struggles. I think they foment that.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat, if you're participating in this or you're experiencing this because you work for Meta or somewhere else, you need to get a Bluetooth speaker that can play the Star Trek battle music. So when the arguments erupt, you can hit the button and it's...
No, it's going to be like super passive aggressive. Like, oh, I heard we're doing a pitch today. You should win.
I mean, you can just use your phone for that. It'd be just as good. It'd be easier to get ready in time.
I want it to sound even worse than a cell phone speaker. Just so bad.
And we see these articles from time to time. I assume this is just a PR piece. Theinformation.com maybe got a couple of dollars for this one, but they're just letting you know we're trying.
Apple boosts spending to develop controversial AI is the headline they chose. I would use an alternative headline or conversational. Apple boosts spending to make Siri less awful. And so you can talk to Siri and just say, hey, Siri, can you do this thing for me? All right, thanks.
Didn't we do a story, though, where they're not going to call it Siri?
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, I don't like Siri.
They'll come
Yeah.
up with some silly new name.
Yeah.
And this is the second time we've seen this, where a company's like, hey, we're AI, and look at this amazing stuff we're doing. And they're trying to get that venture capital, but it's all a deceit.
Buzzy AI startup for generating 3D models that use cheap human labor. 404 article goes out of its way to point out the founder was on the Forbes 30 under 30 list. But it turns out they may have just been using human labor to generate the models because the AI for doing this is quite awful.
They described what would start from the AI before they tweaked it a little bit, which was usually creating it from whole cloth, was just blobs. No matter what you put in, you got blobs out.
Now, there have been some demos. I'm trying to connect the dots here, but Apple cameras have that infrared dot thing. And there is some good code on GitHub that will take, and you can move around something in 3D and it'll produce a 3D model of the thing in 3D. But that's not what this is. This is taking a picture and making something in 3D, because the Apple thing is actually kind of legit bananas.
And China is number 2 when it comes to the AI race. They don't like that. And they are constantly reminding us that they're coming.
Baidu CEO says more than 70 large AI language models have been released in China. There's not a lot of details. I want to download them. I want to play with them. They should be on Hugging Face.
They might.
Some of them are.
You think that they would work in English? Like if you gave English prompts?
Imagine you're on a sidewalk and you want to cross the street, but the crosswalk...
And we had desktop audio up
Oh, no.
from our last week's stream.
Oops.
Yeah, this was just a 10-minute video.
I included this only because I think it's a good primer. Like sometimes I feel like, we do long format videos. These are usually like 30, 45 minutes. And sometimes you might not want to send that to your family who are kind of normies. This is a good normie intro video to explain the problems of mass surveillance.
And this is PBS too.
Yeah.
So the title is "What if our clothes could disrupt surveillance cameras?" This is the holographic banana thing is usually what we refer to it as. So
yeah.
You put a sticker on a banana and then the AI is like, that looks like a fire truck. It's like, well, good job, AI. Good job.
I was hoping that they would have some concrete answers here, but they don't.
They don't really. They do point out though that like you should be a little concerned about this. And so yeah, if you have someone in your life who has questions about this kind of thing, maybe direct them to this video.
Although PBS is worried about this, I really think somebody should alert them about Nissan's terms of service agreement if you buy a new car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you're wearing in the car.
Yeah.
The car knows. And we saw last week that the Washington said, hey, China's going to have autonomous war machines and stuff like that. So we have no choice but to develop autonomous war machines. I mean, we're up against the wall here. What are we going to do? Now we hear more about it, although pretty light on details still.
Pentagon's new AI drone initiative seeks game-changing shift, quote unquote, to global defense. They're looking at what's happening elsewhere in the world with cardboard drones that have aluminum foil shielded electronics, which are not vulnerable to electronic warfare,
EMP
interference type things, and how effective a drone made out of cardboard is. And they're saying we have not been thinking about this right at all.
Now, she says a lot, but says nothing, basically. However, one of my favorite quotes here is that when we do this, which is basically drone swarms is what they're talking about, this can help a determined defender stop a larger aggressor from achieving its objectives. When was the last time the United States wasn't the larger aggressor?
Is it even possible for us to not be the larger aggressor with any country? I don't know.
Larger in terms of population?
Yeah.
Larger in terms of economics? Larger in terms of technological superiority?
I mean, China's bigger, but in terms of our conflicts, we've not gone head to head with them.
Yeah.
And if you want to think, or you want to know what might really be being planned for those swarm drones, is it will be, in fact, the defender will be you, because they're going to use them locally.
New York Police Department to deploy drones to monitor backyard parties this holiday weekend, and privacy advocates aren't happy. Are you telling me that I don't own the airspace in my backyard?
This was Labor Day, is the holiday they were talking about, which is also West Indian Day in New York. So they had parades and they had barbecues and stuff like that, and they had the drones out to observe all of that.
The drones actually they're not looking for crime. They're just seeing how you actually barbecue your meat. It's like, ooh, that's overdone.
you
Like
got-
a speaker voice comes on.
Have you got a license to have that many people at your barbecue?
It's astonishing. It's important to remember how horrified we all were and how all the major news sites condemned the drone use in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Don't we have a story from New York about how they got an illegal volleyball ring with a drone?
I don't know if that was in New York, but it is the same kind of situation. Yeah, but that's a nonsense. And the real reason that we all want drones, of course, is deliveries. Don't spy on me, although they'll do the same thing, right? They'll do both at the same time. But I do want your boxes. Bring me your boxes with the drones. But like the self-driving car, for years and years, it's been teased, but never delivered.
The FAA clears UPS delivery drones for longer range flights. It's definitely going to be the thing that the UPS truck is driving around and it's just, drones are docking and taking off from the truck constantly, and the driver is dealing with all the oddball packages.
That wouldn't be a bad thing. They pointed out, we talked about the Wing program that Walmart is using in Texas, but they have not been making very many deliveries with that. Their numbers are super low for whatever reason.
Maybe people don't trust it.
These drones can only bring old people their medicine.
No, they'd be shot down.
And drones are not just used by the evil police state. They're also used by your neighbor
Just jerks.
who just wants to screw with you. I thought this was going to be a pool supply company. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. No, it's an HVAC company.
New Jersey business owner arrested for using a drone to drop green dye in nearby pools? ... question mark?
Why green? Why dye at all?
And I was thinking maybe food coloring. No, this is an industrial dye that, remember when they dyed, we talked about when they dyed the ocean pink
Yeah.
to track. It's that kind of dye. So it's super aggressive. And they talked about to flush a pool and clean all the green out of it would cost maybe $10,000.
Pools are already so expensive to maintain. That would be, all right, just fill it with dirt.
Imagine how much farming you do.
Yeah. Could have a huge garden in the old pool.
And the cruise robotaxis, boy, week after week, they just keep screwing up.
2 robotaxis blocked an ambulance carrying a patient who later died, San Francisco firefighters say. They stopped short of saying the patient died because of the robotaxis, but they were not happy.
I mean, that might have contributed. You don't know.
Any time
Yeah.
thing. So the firefighters say, they didn't come right out and say that he died, but they said it was an issue and they couldn't get past the crews. Crews released a video saying that wasn't true, but it didn't show the fire truck or the ambulance. It only showed there were 2 cruises side by side in a lane and they both stopped, but one of them eventually got out of the way and let the traffic through the right lane. So they're saying that proves that they're not at fault.
There was a delay.
Imagine, though, having the balls. If you're crews and you're in their PR department, it's like, I'm going to argue with a firefighter,
What else are you going to do?
you know,
That's your
or
job.
or a ambulance worker, an EMT.
And we're getting ready to find out. Last time they tried the Starship, it failed, but they're going to try again, and surely this will be the time.
Starship is stacked and ready to make its second launch attempt. Yeah, I saw they tweeted. It was like, oh, we're just waiting for FAA approval. And the FAA was like, we're still waiting for you to tell us how it's not going to blow up the launch pad.
Yeah, the FAA is not ready to sign off on this.
Trust me, bro. And the piece of paper, I can do what I want.
When have I ever lied before? Elon Musk. And some real bad news for Viasat. Boy, they've had a tough time these past couple of years, huh? And it's not getting any better.
Billion-dollar satellite risks upending space insurance. So Viasat, you might recall, is the people that got so thoroughly hacked by a European country that invaded another European country. They've never really recovered from that.
And now there's problems with the actual satellites. And they might have to scrap the entire fleet.
It's good news for Elon Musk.
Now that will cost an insane amount of money. And if that does cost an insane amount of money, will anybody be willing to insure satellites, which I've never even considered satellite insurance. I bet it's astronomical.
I
no
bet
pun
it
intended.
is.
I bet the underwriter for that policy could probably go to Elon Musk and just say how much to make this go away.
He'll be like, well, I'll take your business.
Yeah, exactly. From the insurance underwriter's perspective, that's fine. That's a perfectly reasonable solution to that problem.
Oh, I think they pointed out that he self-insures.
Yeah.
Just because he's a billionaire. And it's all roses over there in India, though, as their satellite and their space flight all worked out.
Mission accomplished. India puts its moon rover to sleep. This is because where it's parked at is actually going to experience night until, what was it, late October or September? It's going to be dark there for a while. It's going to run on batteries.
Well, it's on the dark side of the moon, so.
Well, it's going to run on batteries for a while, but then the sun is going to come up and they're going to try to wake it up.
The last message that it sent, it offered to sell them an extended auto warranty and requested payment in Apple gift cards.
But they're like, oh, working as intended. And they just put a little check mark next to it.
Oh, man, the DUI situation. I don't know if it's just more visible because now it's all on camera and I get to watch it, or it was always this bad, but it's terrifying what people do.
10-year-old led Arizona troopers on a chase as father sat in the passenger seat, authorities say. Why? Because the father had an open container of alcohol.
That poor kid. Got no chance.
Tough life for that kid for sure. And I just saw a great dash cam video of a guy who stole a cement truck. And to defeat it, because how do you stop something that big? They shot it.
Oh.
They're getting real excited about just shooting things that are running from them.
Sheriff's deputies shoot out the tires of a stolen backhoe to keep suspected thief from demolishing an animal shelter. And yes, this is a headline where you're going to have to read the article. And yes, you're still going to have questions even after you read the article.
These little local news sites never have a ton of detail.
Well, this guy got arrested. He might have been homeless. And they took his dog to the shelter because, like, what are you going to do with it? So he got out and he went to get the dog at the shelter. But they're like, well, for, whatever reason, this dog has to stay here till Friday because we've been instructed to keep it till Friday. So you have to come back on Friday. He was not satisfied with that answer. So his solution
was kill dozers, basically.
Which would have put the dog in danger, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what side of the building, maybe, but.
Oh, yeah. And this is the, when they put out the surveillance drones, they find some weird stuff.
Large-scale gambling ring uncovered in Milford after police raid backyard volleyball games.
This reminds me of like backyard wrestling, but I didn't know backyard volleyball was a thing.
Was this wrong? Should we not have done this? Is this not a free country anymore? Can you not have a large-scale gambling ring in Milford anymore? I mean, I thought this was America.
I honestly, I would just be like, let them gamble. But I can understand if you live next to this.
Yeah.
Probably annoying, but I mean.
I don't know. I mean, who are we really hurting if we're just having fun?
Playing volleyball,
They did go out of their way to say that these individuals contributed $10,000 in cash to their local police fund.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's good for everybody.
What a strange thing to get upset about.
And volleyball is such a weird sport. I guess it's easy to do in a backyard, right?
Well, they thought it was volleyball, but it was actually just a gambling ring.
What were they gambling on? I thought they were gambling on the volleyball.
Yeah, I also assumed that. Yeah.
I bet there's like some local star volleyball player who's really crestfallen right now. Oh,
We get
my chance.
Both teams get like 4% of the pot. I mean, that would be great.
And it also, a lot of these police videos that you see, people are just completely unreasonable when they get arrested. Like the entitlement level is really percolating upward as we move forward in time.
Teen accused of biting Necto employee in their private parts after being denied entrance. This was at a nightclub. And then they were arrested. And as they were arrested, they were also kicking and biting.
There's a lot of kicking and biting.
Yeah.
It's funny because one of my cousins is working with her daughter who is 2 on, kicking and biting. And she's kind of learning the lesson of like, we don't kick and bite because she's, almost 3 now.
These people were just raised on iPads. They never learned that lesson.
They're feral.
Wendell, here's one for you. I can imagine if you were this server at this restaurant, you would have had a serious problem with these people.
Clogged toilet leads to 5 arrests at Papa B's restaurant in Longwood. 5 women face charges of disorderly conduct and battery.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the story here is they had already paid. One of them went to the bathroom, or maybe more than one. And then they went back to the table and they were just like, talking and having their drinks, I guess. And then the workers went to the bathroom to find it flooded. and the toilet just like packed as far as it could be with toilet paper. So they went to ask the people to leave because they were like, hey, you've already paid. You've ruined our day. Just get out. Just leave us alone to go clean the bathroom you destroyed. And they began to beat on the server after that.
That's not okay.
It's not okay on several levels.
I mean, I could see maybe, you have problems. Something bad happens in the bathroom. I think
Unspeakable things.
you should go, you pull somebody aside and it's like, look, I'm sorry about this. I just want to give you a heads up.
That's what you're supposed to do, right?
yeah.
Like you go to someone's house or something, you would tell them like, hey,
You
do
don't
you have a
leave-
plunger?
You
Like,
don't leave the water running. Come on. How does that even happen?
And I love to include these science stories where we are just going too far.
yeah.
What is going on here?
Scientists grow a whole model of a human embryo without the ingredients required to do that.
Is this the fault of the new Jurassic Park series being more about the theme park ride and less about the ethics of
Oh, I didn't know-
cloning?
There's a new series?
Well, I mean, there's a new series of movies, and they're all just like action
Oh, you're
rides.
talking
Yeah.
about that. Okay. So they brought this up to a 14-day embryo. Why 14 days? Because at 15 days, this is illegal. This is the kind of crazy, like creating human life, artificial life stuff that we've actually got some safeguards against, and they're bumping right up against them. They're going as far as they can. But they said everything works as they expected.
Until it doesn't.
And this is just the joy wire from RimWorld.
Yeah.
That's what this
Oh.
is.
A biotech company is putting dopamine-making cells into people's brains. There are some diseases like Parkinson's this will help with.
And these people were Parkinson's patients. And they described maybe some improvement, but not enough to overcome placebo percentages. So, although if I have Parkinson's and it placebos and makes me feel a little bit better, go ahead. Get in there and do whatever you want to do.
Just scramble my brain.
Yeah. And Wendell, you of course living in the shadow of a terrible parasite, and you've become much more cautious with your outdoor activities. These people did not.
Hundreds of Tough Mudder racers infected by rugged, nasty bacteria. Yeah, it turns out modern humans not equipped to deal with the outside. Don't play in the mud.
Was it Giardia? Or Cryptosporidium?
They did say what it was. Hydrophia.
Oh, never even heard of that one.
Hydrophia.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna read that Wikipedia article later.
But
Open a tab now, chat.
really nasty pustular rashes, lesions, fever, flu-like symptoms, nerve pain.
Ooh,
Sounds really awful.
wow.
The good news is it does respond to antibiotics for now. Maybe stop playing in the mud while it still does.
I wonder if the mud was near like a porta potty or something, and that's why it got nasty.
Well, it was a whole course of mud. So it was like
Right.
a large area of mud. There were a bunch, people who run marathons, Krista, sometimes they just pee. Might have
So,
been-
so maybe the whole mud track was just human excrement and mud.
And we hear a lot about the tofu dreg projects in China, but this one ain't in China.
Revealed. Obese patients treated on hospital ground floor because of fears of crumbling concrete collapse.
So they figured out this new way to make concrete sometime in the past and build a bunch of buildings out of it. And then they figured out, oh, wait, that doesn't last.
This is in the UK. I heard a couple stories about this week.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So reinforced, autoclaved, aerated concrete. It's very lightweight, but it still supports a lot of weight at first.
And then it just slowly gets more and more,
More
brittle.
crumbly. Yeah.
So they're
I
gonna
heard they
do
do
away
that.
with that, hopefully.
Yeah, I heard they do that in like schools over there too. So like they were concerned about like, are these schools structurally sound anymore? We don't know.
The answer is no. And they point out that every time you do a survey for structural integrity, it's 10,000 pounds. And it keeps getting worse. And every time it gets worse, you got to do another survey. This is my favorite image of the week. I really kind of looks like Megatron. If a 2-year-old tried to make him out of modeling clay.
The Terminator model has living skin made out of fungus. Yeah.
A fungus among us.
So they're doing some experiments for robots, and they thought it would be really funny. It's like, hey, will this stuff grow on a Terminator model? And it turns out it does.
Man. Imagine self-replicating robots that then infect them with spores to give them their skin.
Ugh.
You can't fight against that. Another man who may be similar to those mud-enjoying individuals who decided to go extreme, but just took it a little too far and may have been somewhat mentally unhealthy.
Florida man charged over failed attempt to cross Atlantic in giant hamster wheel.
What a horrible time to do it during peak hurricane season.
They pointed that out to him. And that's why I'm saying that maybe there's a mental health issue here, because when told that, he pulled out a knife and threatened to kill himself. Threatened to
In Minecraft.
do bad things. They eventually gave up. This is not his first attempt.
Yeah, his third one.
The other one's just washed up on the beaches because he wasn't able to keep forward momentum when they just drug him back in.
Go back from whence I came, and he just keeps going back to the land.
What do you think that cost to
A
make?
lot.
That's pretty low tech.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe he made it from garbage. I don't know.
He'd get tore up by Hurricane Lee.
That would have solved the problem for next time. Maybe he would be like the flamingos, and he would just be deposited somewhere else. And when it comes to dangerous mud and people making bad decisions, you couldn't find any more of that this last week than at Burning Man.
Burning Man 2023, cell towers coming. No estimate of when vehicles can resume travel. They've probably gotten out of there by now, but at the time we're shooting this, they're not.
It
This
wasn't
was on
great.
the second. This was the last update on the second. They're out now.
Yeah.
But for the weekend, they were not out.
73,000 people.
And the porta potties were overflowing into that mud.
Those people are probably going to get some. We're going to hear about those.
Some nasty disease.
Yeah, because I mean, there was for sure urine and feces and all that mud, for sure, and psychedelics. Oh, what if that like creates a new self-aware?
superbug.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty, at least from what I read, like it sounded like usually it's pretty common for Burning Man people, like they are prepared for emergencies like that, but the porta potties overflowing was not great.
that's never great.
No, never a good time.
Well, it's been kind of warm. Luckily, we are moving into the autumn, and I think the worst is probably behind us, at least here in lovely Bluegrass. But Texas has been particularly hot, and one of their biggest icons has suffered.
Texas heat melts the iconic Buc-ee's beaver sign in a viral video. It got really hot in Texas, so the sign melted.
I took my in-laws to Buc-ee's because they're like, we have to go while we're there. We've never been. And I was like, it's kind of an experience. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, well, let's just go. And then they went in and they're like, oh, because it's just so full of people.
What'd they get?
My father-in-law immediately walked out. He was like, this is too much. And my mother-in-law got some beef jerky and a little Buc-ee's patch and like a couple other little things.
Well, that cost about $25.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, we often find out about schools who have controversial bathroom programs because the students will use the bathroom to misbehave. But it is a right that you really aren't allowed to take away from them, but they try.
SA charter school using specific hall passes for students on their menstrual cycle, sparking outrage among parents. Yeah, I can see why parents would be outraged at that. Who at the school thought that was a good idea? Jeez.
Yeah.
Come on.
The Scarlet Hall Pass.
Seriously. You have to go to the bathroom a lot more. And like people are going to know anyway, but then you have a Scarlet Hall Pass. It's like, oh.
So it's interesting what this school does. Maybe this is a normal policy. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in school, but they give you your hall passes every month up front, and you have 4. Or maybe it's a week. But some amount of time you get 4 hall passes. If you burn all of those and you're in a situation like this, you got to break out the purple one. But the purple one identifies. Like when you walk up to the front of the class and you show the purple, everybody knows.
It's just,
It's really dumb.
yeah. I'm not a teacher, so I don't know what the situation on the ground is like. But like if a kid wants to go to the bathroom, just let them go to the bathroom. I don't.
What if they're in there vaping?
Burn the school down.
Attack it with a backhoe.
Take it out from orbit.
And we have two stories. Wendell, you fly, semi-regularly, and this is like your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Both of these stories.
Atlanta flight forced to come back after flyer has diarrhea all the way through the plane, pilot says.
We got a lot of poop stories.
It was so bad, they replaced the carpet and one of the seats.
How does it, once it starts, are you just running? Do you think you're going to outrun it?
This article was so viral. There is a lot of commentary from people that were on this flight, and they all had they're scarred
Trauma.
for life.
I feel like, I mean, you're going to probably make a little bit of a mess, but why would you not just go back to the toilet
Yeah.
and just
Or
be like,
stop.
I'm just going to sit here?
Yeah. Why are you?
Yeah.
I mean, there's people inches away from you. It's astonishing.
This story,
That scene in The Office where the guy has like the chili and he drops it and he just rolls in it. Like,
this is also not surprising coming from Air Canada.
oh, is that an Air Canada story?
Well, no,
Ooh.
this is an Air Canada
okay.
story. And yeah, so if you think that was bad enough, well, I mean, at least those people got to get off the plane and they probably got some vouchers and, someone took
Sorry,
responsibility for
diarrhea
that.
ruined your flight.
But here, it was just like, you're going to have to suffer.
2 passengers were kicked off an Air Canada flight because they refused to sit in seats covered in puke. And according to witnesses on the plane, they weren't rude about it. It was just like, we don't want to sit in puke. Is there no other option? And they're like, no, the flight's full. And the pilot was like, you have 2 options. You're either going to sit in the puke or we're going to put you on the no-fly list.
You will sit in the puke.
Now,
In bugs.
they did give them some concessions. First, coffee grounds. They poured coffee grounds in the seat, and they're like, that'll soak it up. Just sit on down in there.
I was thinking it was like a perfume counter thing where it's like, that'll cleanse the palate
oh,
and make
they
you
also,
forget the smell.
they deodorized.
Yeah.
When these 2 ladies were like, no, we're not sitting in vomit coffee grounds. They were like, okay, fine. So then they put down blankets.
They didn't put down blankets first?
No.
That would have been my first thing was like, okay, let me try to clean it and then I'll put a towel over it.
But they continued to refuse, and security took them off the plane. Now, Air Canada has since responded, and they have apologized a lot. But
That's only
damage is
because
done.
there are people that report that those people were not misbehaved. It was just like, you want me to sit in puke? That doesn't seem reasonable. It's like, all right, off the plane.
I do wonder though, like, if you've already booked up every other seat on the plane, what's the...
how many... do they have extra seats for the staff? Couldn't they just put you in one of those little...
They're not real seats. They're like fold out in the tray area.
Well, it's that or vomit. Offer it to me.
But it's maybe not safety regulated.
Yeah.
Is vomit?
Sitting
I
in
can
vomit
think there
the
will
whole
be a
time?
safety
Yeah.
issue there. There's some more safety issues as well. In Germany, if you're looking to have a little wild pork,
Scientists finally know why Germany's wild boar are surprisingly radioactive.
This boar looks like he's about to drop a really good hip hop album.
They've been eating radioactive truffles, as it turns out.
Ooh.
yeah, what's the name of the stuff the mushroom stuff that permeates all the soil?
Mycelium.
The radiation can travel through it.
It's one big body. The mushrooms are just the fruit.
Here's the crazy thing about it. They always thought this was Chernobyl radiation. This is 1960s nuclear testing radiation. The Chernobyl radiation is still moving through the network. They've not even gotten that yet.
Oh.
That's coming soon. That's next season.
Next season on the series of resounding horrors that keep coming through.
They say they're still safe to eat. I don't know that I would.
Not if it's being detected in another animal entirely.
No, they're saying it's safe to eat the pigs.
Oh, the pigs. Yeah, I wouldn't.
I feel like we talked about this maybe last week, but I don't think we covered the actual story.
We
but
covered it on the stream.
This is so
This
great.
is so amazing. Little, I guess that's how you pronounce that, recalls Paw Patrol snacks after website and packaging display porn. Yeah, don't let your domains expire.
Oops.
So it's funny.
Urgent recall, all caps.
It's funny how they were still marketing these. Like, these are still for sale, but they let that domain go. And if you visit it on mobile,
Oh.
you're going to see some
Sort of bad.
advertising there. I bet that guy's so happy. He's enjoying that. Whoever got that.
I wouldn't think that like a 4-year-old would have access enough to be like, let me look at this URL on my fruit snack packaging, but maybe.
Do you think there was a QR code?
Maybe.
You know what probably got more traffic than that? These news stories. He's probably seen a huge spike in traffic.
Yeah.
And, the obvious pun title from this one is Master of Puppies,
Oh.
which they point out in the article. It's not mine.
Dog runs away from home, sneaks into Metallica concert at SoFi Stadium.
So
Oh, good
Metallica actually was tweeting,
Look at this picture.
and he's loving it. They
Having a good time.
they were trying to shame somebody for having brought this animal to the concert.
Yeah.
But they since learned that they was not brought there. He actually broke out of his yard and just had to see what all the fun was over there.
That's so funny that nobody stopped him on the way in, because surely there's multiple doors between the outside and the arena.
When you go to a concert, they make you like lift your shirt up
Yeah.
and pat you
They
down.
just watch the dog walk in. And it's not like it's a small concert. It's Metallica. I assume that's a big arena.
Nor a small dog.
Well, I'm glad he had a good time.
What a good boy.
Local interest story.
Now, we saw this last week. They were in parts of Florida, right? Where they'd never been seen before.
Yeah.
And now this guy really got off course.
Non-native species reported in Kentucky for the first time in state history.
Cave Run Lake.
A flamingo in Cave Run. That's
I go camping and hiking at Cave Run frequently. Maybe I'll see him.
something ain't right.
Now, they point out that after this sighting, people went to try to find him. Like, oh, let's go see the flamingo. And he's not been seen. They were like, oh, he probably flew back home. But I worry that maybe that's not what happened to him.
Well, I worry more about there's some mean ass geese at Cave Run Lake. They might not like him in their territory.
Get out of here, Pinky.
They're all yelling at him.
Your kind ain't welcome here.
Honking.
These geese are racist.
Don't let the sun go down on you here, Pinky. This ain't Florida. And finally, we have Tripod the bear, who is equally adorable.
Watch this 3-legged bear named Tripod burst into a mini fridge in Florida and eat White Claws.
So these people had a really nice outdoor patio set up.
Yeah.
And he meandered in there. It does have the 3 legs. It's moving pretty good, though, for a 3-legged.
Yeah.
And they had a little outdoor mini fridge. He just went right in like he understood exactly what that was about and got right into those White Claws. And also apparently ate some fish food.
Oh. I never did see the black bear that my neighbors claimed was
Maybe
wandering around our
You
neighborhood.
think about putting out some White Claws?
No, I haven't, but now I am.
Yeah.
The bear ate all the kittens.
Oh, maybe.
Oh,
The- The mama cat still hangs out on our porch all the time. And then
But no
occasionally-
kittens?
I haven't. There's just the one kitten, and I haven't seen the one kitten in a couple days.
That's sad. That's a sad note to end on.
Well, the kitten could just be wandering. It's not always with its mama. It's
Maybe
older.
it got adopted.
By a family. People feed the cats, but nobody claims the cats.
That's a big Eastern Kentucky thing.
And
Yeah.
that's a great way to get a lot more cats.
Yeah, I don't want any more cats. And every time I try to contact like the local free spay and neuter or like local vet clinics and stuff, it's like they have such a long wait list. I can't get them in.
I
a
think
lot of cats.
I think there's room for one more cat in the house.
No.
There is.
Mama cat is very sweet, but I don't want any more cats.
Imagine how much fun Cricket would have.
Cricket would probably, he does like to watch them from his perch on the window. He'll see him out on the porch and he'll meow, meow.
Cricket is not well socialized.
Oh, he's got Rue, but Rue's kind of Rue.
Yeah, he's learned how to be something wrong.
Crazy and overbearing. Anyway, that's it for the week. We will see you guys next week with more stories to share with your friends. Bye.